All right, ladies and gentlemen, history was made and we have a ton of information in this video. So please stick by for all of it. I think this is important stuff, some of which you're going to want to know and perhaps hopefully want to act upon immediately after hearing this. Like I said, history was made on February 7th, 25, and President Trump signed his first ever executive order on firearms. We know that. Hopefully you know that. But let me tell you, it's a big deal, potentially a really big deal for us gun owners across America. And more importantly, the Second Amendment community can make it even better. We have a unique opportunity in front of us right now. Today, I'm going to break down the top 14 things I think need to happen to make sure this executive order isn't just words on a paper. And a lot of I got some help from Gun Owners of America on this too. But this needs to be a true victory to return our gun rights, back a little bit to more what they used to be, what they are intended to be. So stick around. Let me know what you would like to see if you want to see more added on this list, and some taken away from this list. A lot of information here. Okay. Before I dive in, hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed and you love the Second Amendment, you don't want to miss any updates, that's what you need to do. Hit the bell notification too, so you're notified of when I put out new content or go live. Huge shout out to today's sponsor, Sonoran Desert Institute. More on them later, but if you want to start a career in the firearms technology or gunsmithing world, they've got you covered. But let's jump into this video first. There's, like I said, a ton of info, so strap in and stick with me. First off, before I get into the list, there's a baseline of knowledge that every gun owner needs to have. So stick with me. I'm just going to start like this. This is, like I said, a lot of information here. A lot of people immediately say, get rid of the NFA, the Gun Control Act, and the Hughes Amendment. But we need to understand that those are actual laws on the book, and those have to be removed by action from Congress. It's not something that the president, no matter who it is, can just sign away. It can't happen like that. And it's not something that you're going to find a single judge in this country or even the Supreme Court to just swipe it away. We got to be realistic here. That's not going to happen. So know that up front, because I've seen a ton of comments like NFA's got to go and this is the opportunity. Trump should just do it. He can't do it. So understand that. But what can he do with this executive order? That's what I think we all need to understand. First off, the order itself directs Attorney General Pam Bondi to examine the entire federal government to assess any ongoing infringements on our Second Amendment rights. She has to present a proposed plan of action to the president to protect these Second Amendment rights. And at a minimum, she's been instructed to review all presidential and agency actions, including ATF and others, from January 21 to January 25, that purport to promote safety but may have impinged on the Second Amendment rights of us law-abiding citizens. Now, she has to review all the rules that have been promulgated by the Department of Justice, including the ATF during that period as well, that pertain to firearms and or federal firearms licensees. She has to review all of the agency plans, orders, and actions regarding ATF's illegal zero tolerance policy pertaining to firearms and federal firearms licensees. That's a big one. She has to review all reports and related documents issued by the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, and there was a lot there too behind the scenes. She has to review all positions taken by the United States in any and all ongoing and potential litigation that affects or could affect the ability of Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights. And we know there's a boatload of those. So she's got her work cut out. She also has to review agency classifications of firearms and ammunition. And finally, she has to review the processing of applications to make, manufacture, transfer, or export firearms. Now, this executive order is a great chance for Pam Bondi to prove to gun owners that she supports the Second Amendment more than she kind of had in the past. And, we all know her previous issues with stances on red flag laws. And I was just in Florida and did a ton of it, background on Pam Bondi. I got to give her credit where credit is due. She has been very good on semi-auto bans. She's terrible on red flag. She's been good on semi-auto bans. And I'm going to do a parallel here. Pam Bondi, a lot of people hate her because she's taken action against the Second Amendment. But people give me shit because I give Tulsi Gabbard a lot of heat because she's acted against the Second Amendment. We can't have both, guys. It's one or the other. Either we give them second chances or we remember and expect them to address issues. I expect people to address. I don't blindly trust anybody that is a human being. Now, this is especially true if Pam Bondi wants to remain relevant after Trump's presidency. She's proven to be a politician, so maybe she wants to run for governor or senator or something else. Now, there is something that I'm going to ask everybody to do, and we don't have a lot of time to do it, okay? But first, is the executive order just meaningless words on paper? It is, unless they do something with the president's order. This is President Trump giving his administration a mandate and a deadline. Now, we have a chance to help him get the job done right. A hastily written executive order that blanketly overturns Biden's executive orders could result in court cases being mooted. We don't want that. That's when a court case is, a judge says, you know what, that rule doesn't exist anymore, so this case, it's not needed, dismissed. We would like those cases to be handled differently by the DOJ. Considering that the Supreme Court will rule on the frames and receivers rule here shortly before the summer, the case was called Garland or Vanderstock versus Garland, but now it's called Vanderstock versus Bondi because she's the Attorney General now. But this process allows the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to determine how to overturn these gun control orders and maintain the longest lasting protections for the Second Amendment. There's a lot of things that have to happen here. So don't forget, President Trump's executive order stated at a minimum that Biden's gun control will be overturned, which means that there's a possibility for even more gun control to be overturned as well, which is where you are all going to come in. You're going to be a huge part of this. That's why we put together this list with Gun Owners of America. It's a list of gun control that needs to be overturned by Pam Bondi's Department of Justice. Now, there's a timeline for this action. We have a very tight timeline here. The executive order set a 30-day deadline for Pam Bondi to submit her report to the White House Domestic Policy Advisor, Vince Haley. He's a very powerful person at the White House. And President Trump will then issue his final action based off of Pam Bondi's recommendations. Remember, the clock started ticking on Friday, February 7th. That means gun owners, you and me, we have until March 9th to help Pam Bondi and President Trump get this right. There are 14 items, I said. Here's the top 14 lists. They're in no particular order. I just think these types of lists work well. We'll start at number 14. Again, these aren't in any particular order. You tell me down below which one of these is best for you and how you would rank them. How's that? Maybe help me do that. Number 14, declare a machine gun amnesty. Did you know that the United States government has declared machine gun amnesties twice before? Once in 1968 and then in 1986. Jared, what is a machine gun amnesty? Remember the amnesty period the ATF had for short-barreled rifles? Because if you had a pistol brace on your pistol, they thought it was a short-barrel rifle. There was a grace period where you could just register this stuff if you had it, and we're not going to charge you. We're not going to take any action against you if you had it previously. That's what a machine gun amnesty is. Yeah, Jared, registration's bad. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. We had a case it was a court case where ATF had to admit in court that there were over 750,000 machine guns in circulation. All right, that's a lot. That's like common use. So if we get an opportunity to have a bunch more in that flow at once, that will help things down the road. Okay, they did 2 rounds already in 68 and 86. It's time for another round in 25. If Trump is serious about protecting the Second Amendment and allowing law-abiding citizens to, register pre-existing machine guns, it would be a major win, and it wouldn't just be pre-86 stuff either. That's the big part with this one. Number 13, appoint a pro-gun ATF director. Now, the ATF director is an acting director right now. It's Kash Patel, who is also the director of the FBI. It's going to be really tough for him to do both jobs and give them both all the attention they need to shred those agencies of all the BS. We're going to need, and we will get, a real director. This is where this comes in. We know the ATF's been a rogue agency for far too long, and it's Trump's time to appoint an ATF director, Brandon Herrera, who actually supports the Second Amendment. We need someone who will stand up to anti-gun bureaucrats, scale back unconstitutional regulations, and maybe, just maybe, know how to field strip a Glock in under 10 seconds. Brandon Herrera. Number 12, end financial discrimination against gun owners. Under Joe Biden, we saw banks and financial institutions target the firearms industry, shutting down accounts and transactions under a so-called reputational risk policy. Well, that could end and should end now. The Trump administration must ensure that gun businesses and owners aren't being debanked for simply exercising their Second Amendment rights. Number 11, delete ATF's illegal gun registry. Did you know that the ATF has a digital, searchable database of almost 1 billion firearm records? It's an illegal registry, plain and simple, easily searchable, which violates federal law. President Trump needs to enforce the law and delete this database once and for all. No more backdoor gun control or gun registration. Number 10, restore gun rights for 250,000 plus veterans. For decades, the VA has been discriminating against veterans simply because they had someone helping manage their finances. Over 250,000 of America's bravest have lost their Second Amendment gun rights through this unconstitutional practice. The Trump administration must immediately restore their gun rights. Immediately. Number 9, stop labeling gun owners as extremists. The FBI and DHS literally classified us patriotic gun owners as potential militia violent extremists under Biden. Remember, I did those videos about us being MVEs. Now, supporting the Second Amendment should never land you on a government watch list. It should land those people who think we're extremists on a government watch list because they're violating their oath of office and the Constitution. Now, Trump must reverse this disgusting smear campaign immediately. Number 8, end funding for red flag laws. Looking at you, Pam Bondi. Now, Biden couldn't push federal red flag laws because it's unconstitutional and you'll never get Congress as currently constituted. The House and the Senate aren't going to pass it. So instead, he bribed states to pass their own. Remember the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. It's time to shut this down, destroy the federal funding for it, and investigate states for due process violations. Florida is one of the biggest users of red flag laws. No more unconstitutional gun confiscations. Number 7, modernize the NFA. Jared, we want to get rid of the NFA. I'm with you, brothers and sisters. I told you before, it's an act of Congress. It still has to be an act of Congress. But let's be real. Suppressors, short barrel rifles, and machine guns shouldn't be restricted in the first place. But since we can't abolish the NFA outright with a stroke of a pen, we should at least make it easier to comply with. How about an instant background check and tax stamp issued at the point of sale? What do you mean? You go to the gun shop, just like you go to buy a gun. They run their background check through NICS, it's approved, you walk home with your gun. Why can't they do that with a short-barreled rifle or a machine gun or a suppressor? That would be a pretty good start. Number 6, end the sporting purposes test. It's a stupid test. The ATF blocks firearm imports based on a ridiculous sporting purposes test. This outdated rule prevents Americans from owning some of the best firearms from around the world, and it's time to scrap it. Number 5, NICS exemptions for concealed carry permit holders. If you have a carry permit, you've already passed a thorough and rigorous background check. Why should you have to go through the same background check every single time you want to buy a firearm? Many states already allow permit holders to bypass the NICS system, and Trump should make that happen nationwide. Number 4, reverse ATF's illegal gun rules. From pistol braces to force reset triggers, the ATF has been creating gun laws without Congress. The Trump administration needs to overturn all of these unconstitutional ATF gun rulemaking attempts once and for all. Number 3, overturn Biden's universal background checks. Biden tried to force private gun sales to go through ATF's background check system by redefining who qualifies, or better yet, who must become a gun dealer, a federal firearms licensee. This needs to be erased from the books immediately. Number 2, repeal Biden's zero tolerance policy. The ATF has been shutting down gun stores over minor clerical errors under Biden's zero tolerance policy. We need to restore every unlawfully revoked FFL immediately and hold the ATF accountable for those families losing their businesses and their livelihoods. And number 1, repeal Biden's Executive Order 14092. That executive order gave the ATF and the Department of Justice unchecked power to push gun control. President Trump must completely repeal this order and erase every gun-grabbing policy that came with it. Where do we direct our energy, Jared? How can we help? Well, guys and gals, you are going to take a huge part in this. There's a few things. First, contact the White House. You can message them. I'll have this down below as well. The email is whitehouse.gov/contact. The phone number is 202-456-1111. GOA also has an action tool alert where you can leave messages right through their system to repeal Biden's gun control. I'll link to that as well. You should go on Twitter because Donald Trump has brought something to the White House that he did in his first term, but it's been even used more and expanded in this term so far in only a month. He is very, very into what people think of him and scours social media. So use it to our advantage. We've already seen policy happen from posts on X that people have made, and it's gone viral, and they get the information to either Elon or somebody else, and it gets brought to the president, and he acts on it. It's been interesting. We, the people, have an ability that we've never had before to kind of directly communicate with the president via social media. So on X, the goal should be to be seen by, and I'll put these in the description down below, at Rapid Response 47, at White House, at POTUS, at Real Donald Trump, at VP, at JD Vance, at Donald J. Trump Jr., at Doge, and at Elon Musk, or any of their associated teams, okay? So make sure you tag those people when you put things on socials so that they have a better opportunity of seeing what we're talking about. Specifically, this list. You should be tweeting about this, posting about it. If you're on Twitter, you should be following me as well, because a lot of this information's been up there for about a week on my Twitter. So follow me at guns_and_gadgets. I'll have it down below as well. I think it's down below anyway. All right, so there you have it, guys and gals. Patriots, the top 14 ways we can make Trump's executive order even stronger. But we need your help. Call the White House, contact your representatives, spread the word. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below. I'm going to keep you up to date and in tuned with progress we make on this, as well as Second Amendment updates every single day. A huge thank you to our sponsor, Sonoran Desert Institute. If you're passionate about firearms and want to check it out and turn it into a career, check out the link down below. It's sdi.edu/GNG, and they'll get you on your way. Guys and gals, stay armed, stay vigilant, and never, ever let them take your rights. I'll see you next time. God bless America. Take care.